Welcome to You're Not Alone, the podcast that brings you real stories of strength, hope, and resilience. Life is full of challenges, and if you are navigating a personal struggle, facing difficult challenges, or simply looking for an inspiration, this space is for you. My name is Victoria Vita. I'm a mindset mentor, Reiki master, and a sound healer. I'm also the CEO and founder of Self Awesomeness and the host of this podcast. This podcast is here to give you hope, inspiration, and the reminder that you have community behind you. Our guests are real people just like you who have faced losses, anxieties, and life obstacles, but emerged stronger. Their stories are raw, honest, and full of hope, reminding you no matter how tough things get, you are not alone. And today's guest is a breathwork facilitator and guide who helps people break out of the bubble and back into their bodies. Meet Karen Warwick was Breathe Again Wellness. After decades of chronic illness, emotional neglect, and failed plans, she found healing not through traditional systems, but through breath, energy, and inner work. 2 weeks after her birthday, one of the sessions on breath work changed her life, but I'll let her talk about it. And now she realized that it's never too late to rewrite your story. Thank you, Karen, for being on today's podcast. I'm really looking forward to your amazing story so more listeners and people can hear what has shifted for you after your birthday. And I didn't tell how old you were, so I want you to. but before but before we begin, can you please take us back to the time in your life when you were dealing with your chronic illness, how you felt, how your life was back then?
Yeah. And thank you, Victoria, for the opportunity to be on your podcast today. I absolutely love the concept of sharing with people that they are not alone. It is so important to share that with people. And it's really why I was just like, of course, I'll be on your podcast. So,
Thank you.
yes, thank you for the invitation. And, I think for me, it really goes back to the time when I was struggling so much with chronic illness, autoimmune issues, migraine that was stealing, 10 to 14 days of every month of my
Oh,
life.
wow.
And I felt very alone. I felt like I was failing my family. I felt like I was failing my friends. I felt like I was failing my staff that, are in our business. It just was a very isolating, lonely, negative time in my life. And I share this in a book that I was part of, a Healers Collective book called The Call Within, that I know you're familiar with as well.
Yes.
And I shared that the day that I thought that maybe it would be better if the Lord delivered me in that moment, that it would be better, I just realized that I had to make some huge changes. Huge changes. And so, yes, it was 2 weeks after my 50th birthday, and I was on this amazing healing retreat with my soul sister, my chosen sister, my best friend of 30 plus years.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was beautiful. And we're on this healing retreat, and part of it was a 2.5-hour breathwork journey. And, professionally, my husband and I for 30 years have been in the natural healing community, in the chiropractic community. And so I knew a little bit about breath work. I knew a lot about meditation. I knew a lot about natural healing. But what happened that day completely changed the entire trajectory of my life.
What happened back then?
Yeah, it was amazing. And it was I was in the middle of the breathwork experience. It was a guided experience. It was a mixture of a bunch of different types of modalities of breathwork, some conscious connected. There was some shamanism going on. There was some really intense moments and some really quiet moments. And about halfway through it, I realized that for the first time, this makes me really emotional. For the first time in my entire life, I had taken a fully conscious, connected breath.
Oh, wow. Wow. I
And
have goosebumps. Just,
yeah, and I have to take a breath right now for
yeah.
myself, right? Just to like continue to anchor that in. And
Yes.
I realized that I think of it like a carabiner when you're rock climbing or when you're hiking and you have those little clips.
Mm-hmm.
And I had this image of my breath going in and out of my body, but like stopping where the carabiner was open,
Mm-hmm.
never completing like a full circular cycle. And in that moment of that breathwork experience, I literally felt the breath go through my thoracic, my mid back area for the first time in my entire life.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And
Sounds like such an amazing experience.
it was an amazing experience and life changing. And at the end of the session, the facilitator gave time to share. And again, I was there with my soul sister who has been on so much of my healing journey with me the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
And I just really, I burst into tears and I said,
Oh.
I just took my first breath at age 50.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's so powerful.
Yeah, it
Yes.
was really powerful, and
Wow.
it started my journey of becoming an internationally certified breathwork facilitator. It started my journey of what somatics is and how women, especially from a chronic illness point of view,
Mm-hmm.
like really need to tap into the somatics of the body and how physical, emotional, or energetic stress or trauma in earlier parts of our life are then
Yes.
manifesting itself in a physical part of our life now.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
and so it just started this journey. And I know you and I are both sound healers. A lot of what I do is just shifting vibrational energy. And so
Yes.
sometimes I do that through sound, and sometimes I do that through breath, and sometimes I do that through somatics.
Yes. Yes.
And sometimes I do it through all three. So yeah, and it created this like journey and this just soul purpose
Mm-hmm.
to then found and create Breathe Again Wellness. And people ask me all the time, like, why the name, like why Breathe Again Wellness? And
Mm-hmm.
I am just very clear in the answer that I learned at 50 how to breathe again,
That's
and
amazing.
and it just leads to wellness in my
Mm-hmm.
entire life. So yeah, I'm really passionate
Oh,
about
wow.
it. So thank you for letting me
That-
share.
sure, because I mean, it's so powerful because I do know that sometimes we just hold our breath, just
Yeah.
and we don't breathe, and we don't even notice that. But it's so natural for us to breathe, but we forget, or we don't even know how to breathe, as you said. It's just amazing story what you have
Yeah.
shared. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Oh.
you're totally right, because a lot of times when I work one-on-one or with groups, I explain to my clients, I say, if you stub your toe in the middle of the night on the side of the bed, what you do is you go, and you
Mm-hmm.
don't complete the breath cycle. And it
Mm-hmm.
becomes a trauma response. And it can be a little T trauma, like stubbing your toe, but it can
Yes.
be a big T trauma, like the emotional neglect that I had as a child,
Yes.
living with a manic depressive, a bipolar parent that wasn't managed in the
Mm-hmm.
mental illness
Oh,
journey.
wow.
And
Mm-hmm.
and so, whether it's big T trauma or little T trauma, the breath cycle has not completed. And so
Mm-hmm.
a lot of times when we're working, when clients are working with me, that's just the first goal, like to
Yeah.
complete that breath cycle, to take the fully conscious connected breath. And once we learn how to do that together, then we start working on the physical, the emotional, the
Yes.
energetic, and how we can clear that from a somatic point of view.
Yeah.
So,
Because
yeah.
I feel like when you learn how to breathe, it's like your chest is open up too. So it's like
Yes.
it happens, just you don't even notice it. That like your back is straight, you don't do this anymore.
Yeah.
So it like feels like you're expanding. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And especially for women, like I work primarily with women, all of us of a certain age, right? I mean, I have all ages of clients and I do work with men and women, but the majority of my clients are women. And from a very young age, we're taught to make
Mhm.
ourselves small, to shrink
Yes.
in, to collapse our belly, to collapse our diaphragm, to collapse our chest area.
Hmm.
And the first step that I do with a lot of women is we're just bringing the shoulders back. We're
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
bringing the shoulders back. And then we're going to sit up and we're going to make more room for the diaphragm.
Hmm.
And
Yes.
then, eventually we're going to talk about the fact that 70% of your lungs are in the back of your body. So we have to breathe to the back,
Hmm. Oh
and then
wow.
what does that feel like in your body when you're breathing to the back? And what does that feel like when you're thinking of the breath not in a linear fashion? The breath is like healing, like
Hmm.
it goes in all different directions. And so just teaching clients that you have to take the breath to the front and the back and the right and the left. And how do we as women expand our rib cage
Hmm.
out? It's just an up and down in all directions, like someone's blowing you up like a balloon,
Yes.
right? It's
But
got
it
to be
feels
like,
like the energy is healing
yes,
too, like around you. Yes. Yeah.
yes, yes,
That's true.
yes. Super
Oh,
fun.
I love. Yeah, and I think it's so transformative as well, because you went through that experience yourself, just talking
Yes,
from, just this is, guys, what you can do. But I feel like when you go through that experience yourself, you share it with passion, because this is what I felt, right? This is what it
yes.
was for me. And you want more people to experience that joy and cry and breathe, just breathe, which is very natural for us. Yeah.
Yes, 100%. Because I think when you turn your pain into purpose,
Hmm.
it totally shifts the concept of pain. And when my pain didn't feel safe, and my pain felt lonely, and my pain felt isolating,
Hmm.
and like I was letting everybody down, it's different. Now the pain has a purpose, and the purpose is to heal. And the purpose is to share that information with others so they in
Hmm.
turn can heal. And it takes away the isolation and the loneliness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So because we're not alone, right?
We're not alone. We're not alone.
Yes, but I want to ask you about something you shared with me before our actual recording.
Sure. Sure.
You had plans to pursue a degree, right? You wanted to become a doctor, but
Yeah.
COVID changed that. And can you please tell us, how did you navigate that grief of that pivot, and you found basically a new direction? How was that experience for you?
Yeah, that's such a great question. And I had no idea you were going to ask that. So that's a really good question. It was my plan. As I said, my husband and I have been in the natural healing community, owning chiropractic clinics since 1996,
Oh,
97, like
wow.
a long time, right? And he's a doctor of chiropractic. We employ other doctors of chiropractic. We employ licensed massage therapists, and he gets to do the doctor stuff and help the patients, and just really kind of run the clinic from a clinical point of view. And I've always run the clinic from the business point of view. So we're a great team. We have been together for 31 years. We've been married for 29 years, and we've been
Oh.
working for almost 30 years together. And it's so beautiful. I love it. I'm
You
so
guys,
grateful.
perfect example that you can work together, so you didn't
Yes.
have to have separate jobs, so you
Yes,
don't
it
see each
works for
other very
us. It
often.
works for us. Yeah, it's really great. But all that time, every time we were at like seminars or with friends, professionally or personally, I always was like, well, I want to make a difference with
Hmm.
with
Hmm.
patients too. And so Our daughter was born almost 23 years ago,
Yeah.
and I was really blessed to be able to spend a lot of time at home with her and just a
Mm-hmm.
few hours at the clinic. And in my mind, my intention was, as soon as she goes to college, I'm going back to school. And I'm going to get my doctor of naturopathy degree, and I'm going to be a naturopathic physician.
Mm.
And that was the plan. That was that was the plan. I mean,
For
like
almost 20 years.
that for like 20 years, 18 years at least. That was what
Mm-hmm.
I was going to do. And yeah, and then COVID happened, and my daughter graduated from high school in June of 2020. So right after COVID happened, and I had been planning on going back to school in September, and I very quickly realized that her college experience in the beginning and my intention to go back to school to get my doctorate
Mm-hmm.
degree was not going to be what either of us expected. And there was a lot of stress. There was a lot of, for everybody, whether you were in healthcare or whether you ran a restaurant
Mm-hmm.
or whether you worked for someone else, but there and or whether you were retired. It wasn't good for my mother who was retired. The whole time, the whole world was under stress. So I don't want to
Yes.
imply that our stress was any worse than anybody else's, but it was a difficult time being self-employed.
Mm-hmm.
From a business point of view, no
Yes.
one knew what was going on. From a clinical point of view, I was very grateful that our state left the chiropractic clinics open. They were trying to keep back pain out of emergency rooms and in with the
Mm-hmm.
chiropractors. And my husband and the doctors that work for us and the massage therapists that work for us, they served so many people during that time that maybe the only other place they were going to was the grocery store.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was very, very, very important for
Mm-hmm.
us to stay open. But we also learned from a business point of view that we had to pivot and adapt.
Yes.
And those
Yeah.
are the two words that came out of COVID for me. It was like pivot and adapt, pivot and
Mm-hmm.
adapt. What's happening today? What does the state tell me my business needs to do today? What do my
Yes.
employees say today? What are my patients saying today? And so pivot and adapt. And I realized at that time that I had to pivot and adapt, and change the dream that I had had for
Mm-hmm.
these 18 years. And you're right, I went through a lot of grief, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of grief as I was in the process of going to be turning 50. A lot of grief in being a mother and being so excited for my daughter that she was going to college and having this, and then being like, well, wait, now I'm home and I am in the middle of a pandemic and I'm running a
Yes.
healthcare clinic, and I thought I wanted to go to school, and it was a lot
Mm-hmm.
of tied up in that. So there was a lot of stages of it. I was
Mm-hmm.
angry, I was disappointed, I was sad, and until I really sat with it and identified it, I
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't pivot and adapt. And I once I sat with it for a while, this wasn't like one day,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, I'm sure it wasn't.
No, it wasn't like one day. But when I sat with it and I really did the work, I really did the work to heal that
Mm-hmm.
that disappointment in my life, and realized that, you know, my path going into my 50s could look different than I thought it was going to.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
just really being okay with that, and
Mm-hmm.
really being like, okay, instead of what am I losing, and coming from like in the beginning, before I had moved through the grief, I was coming through this like contracted
Mm-hmm.
scarcity kind of concept of, well, wait, for various reasons, I'm not going to go be a naturopathic physician. But then when I did the work, I'm like, wait, how do I come from the abundant prosperity,
Yes.
like expansive? How do I expand myself
Yes.
into the new possibility? And that really is what led me down the road of becoming a breathwork facilitator, a sound healer, a somatic coach for women, an internationally best-selling author. And I think, you know what, if I would have been in school that whole time, I might not have done any of that.
Probably not. Yeah,
No, so
probably
I'm
your path would be
grateful.
so different, and
Yeah.
how many people you help with what you do as well. So, like, you
Yeah.
have looks like you have a bigger impact
Yeah.
on just not going back to school. So,
Yeah.
I think that's you have a bigger impact on people's life than you would have been a doctor. Yeah, all these
Yeah,
years.
because when you
Yeah.
think of it that way, you're totally right, because it would have been like one-on-one, right? And I
Yes.
do
Yeah.
one-on-one appointment, one-on-one
Mhm.
client
Yeah.
work,
Yeah.
I do that. But I hosted Women's Circle last weekend. It was a beautiful event with dozens of women. I have a big retreat that's happening in about 3.5 weeks. And so, like, you're right. I get to touch so many more women and so
Hmm.
many more people with the work I'm doing now, and I'm super excited about it. Like, it definitely feeds my soul.
Your soul led you to what you were meant to be, kind of your
Yes.
purpose in life. And I
Yes.
think it's very, for a lot of us, it's so hard to adapt. And as you said, pivot and adapt, especially when we feel that, oh, everything is settled in our 40s, 50s, right?
Yeah.
And some people feel this way in 30s too. So they feel like that is it.
Right.
But reality shows us different things, that there are way more possibilities that we can think of, and we just have to be open to it and just see how it unfolds for us.
100%. You and I talked, what, a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
and you shared with me the story of the women's retreat you had gone to and the 78-year-old
Yes.
woman who had just
Yes.
finished her paralegal degree.
Yes.
I have
Yes.
told that story so many times.
Me too.
I love
I
that
mean, she was the
story.
one why, like, she was the reason this podcast actually is live, I would
Yes.
say.
Yes,
Yeah, this is amazing.
I love it. I keep telling my friends, well, I'm going to be a paralegal when I'm 78. And they're like,
Yeah.
no, you're not, but you're going to do something else.
Yes.
So it's
Yes.
just it's my new metaphor. I love it. I'm
Yeah.
so glad you shared that
Yeah.
with me.
Yeah, it was amazing. And that's why, as I said, like, she was 78, right? So, and we don't know what we will do in 10 years, in 5 years. Just be open to it, and have, like, see those opportunities and breathe
And
and
breathe
breathe.
through it. You got to breathe through it. You have
Yes.
to. Yeah. That's
Yes.
so great. I love
Yeah,
that.
I know that it's tough to make changes, and it can feel like I cannot breathe, but just breathe, right? So
Yeah.
this is what I say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. I love that. I love that.
Karen, you also mentioned that you felt guilty and shame for when you were not feeling well, and looks like traditional medicine wasn't helping a lot as well. How did you release that, and how did you begin to trust your body again with healing and what was happening?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And it's multifaceted because, again, I my entire adult life I've professionally lived in the natural healing community and the chiropractic community. So on one hand, I was like, wait, there's guilt and shame because I'm not getting adjusted and having these migraines go away. I'm not having acupuncture, massage,
Hmm.
positive thinking, meditation, mirror work, Reiki, energy work, whatever I was doing, craniosacral, you list the natural healing thing, I was doing it.
Hmm.
Um and I had a lot of guilt and shame over that, because I was like, how am I manifesting this pain? How am I creating my reality? Which I really believe that we all create our own reality.
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and so there was a lot of guilt and shame around that. And then the second part of that was when I got to the point, the day that I thought the Lord could deliver me now and everything would be fine, I scared myself enough that I thought, I have to go to a neurologist. And
Hmm.
and I had been resisting that because I had thought that every neurologist out there was just going to want to put me on some kind of pharmaceutical medication for the rest
Uh-huh.
of my life to cover up the symptom. And I didn't want that.
Hmm.
So, you know what? the universe provides
Yes.
because I, put it out there that I needed to find someone that was going to at least listen to my point of view and
Mm-hmm.
and try to help me through this natural,
Mm-hmm.
path that I wanted to do. And I found an amazing neurologist, and she really, really, really helped me. And she said, for a couple of months, I'm going to um, put you on this pharmaceutical medication. We're basically just going to reset the chemistry in your brain. And then after that, I'm going to switch you to boswellia or Indian frankincense as like a major anti-inflammatory, but honoring the fact that I wanted to be, if I was going to be on anything, some kind of natural supplement.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so to find somebody like that, that I could be like, well, wait, I just need a little help for a couple of months. Let's reset everything. And then I'm going to go into boswellia. Like, okay,
Yes.
And so I encourage clients now that healing comes in all forms and
Mm-hmm.
healers come in all forms.
Yes.
And even though she is a traditionally trained neurologist, it was me that was stopping myself from getting that help for a number of
Yes.
years. And so once I moved past that, and I was like, there's nothing to feel guilty here. You don't have
Mm-hmm.
to power through 14 days of migraine every month. You
Yeah.
don't have to power through this like strange secondary head pain that you have. Like, go get some help, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a really good lesson for me to be like, oh, I don't have to be 5 years old going on 35 years old or 45 or 55.
Yeah.
I can be like not hyper responsible for this, and I can go ask someone to help me.
Mm-hmm.
So it was a really, really, really great lesson. A really, really,
Yeah.
really good lesson. So
And I think this lesson also shows that you can look for your medical professional that you would trust to,
yes.
and don't make assumptions, as you said, like they will put me on just medication and
Yeah.
that's it, right? So this is a lot of assumptions that we have in our mind that it's not necessarily true. So seek and look for someone who can help you. Try different doctors, try different healers, and just see if your energy basically align with them, right? So she could
Yeah.
have told you totally different things, but she offered something that you didn't expect her to
Yeah.
say, right?
Right.
Yes.
And if your energy doesn't align with that person, go find another one.
Yes. Yeah. There
I
are
mean, like
many
it's
more. Yeah.
so simple, but it's so simple to me in my mind now because am
Mm-hmm.
so much healthier than I was, 6, 7 years ago. And
Wow.
when you're in it, when you're in it,
Mm-hmm.
it's hard to think that way. It's hard. And
Mm-hmm.
I have so much
Oh.
empathy for my clients and the women that I work with who are like, I can't even figure out what to make my kids for breakfast right now, much less figure out what doctor I'm going to. And
Mm-hmm.
so
Oh.
I talk with my clients a lot about how we're not going to eat the whole pie in one sitting. We're going to take one bite of
Yes.
the pie. And what's the one thing you can do today?
Yes.
Maybe you can research a doctor that you need to see
Mm-hmm.
out. Maybe you can make a phone call,
Mm-hmm.
make an appointment. And even if you can't make that first appointment, then maybe the second step is to call and reschedule. And then
Yes.
someday you'll get in that office, and just stepping into that office or just making the appointment is huge courage.
Yes. Yes.
So just one piece of the pie at a time.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yeah.
you said it beautifully. When you're in that pain, I think it's even physical or emotional,
Yeah.
you don't see the other possibilities.
You can't.
So that, yeah, you don't, you just, yeah, yeah.
You can't. Yeah. And it's interesting because there's a lot of parallel work like that in my women's circles,
Mm-hmm.
because there are women that will sign up for circle or retreat 6 or 7 times and never come.
No, yes, yes,
And then 6 months later, 8 months later, whatever, when they finally come to circle,
yeah.
they're like, I don't even know why I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, just coming here took so much courage.
Yes.
And it goes back to your concept of you're not
Yeah.
alone. You're not
Yes.
alone, you
You're
know,
not alone.
you're not
Yeah.
alone in the
Yeah.
healing, in the work that you want to do in order to change your
Mm-hmm.
energetic vibration, whatever you're doing, you're not alone. And it's
Yeah. You're not.
so important for women to understand that. So
Yes.
important.
So you're not alone. Remember that.
Yeah,
You do
yeah,
have community behind you.
you do. You do.
What are some of the biggest shifts you've seen in people after breath work or nervous system healing? We know
Yeah,
you're a great example of what happened
yeah.
to you. But
Yeah.
are there any other examples that you can share with us?
Yeah, I had a client a couple of years ago that I did a conscious connected breathwork
Mm-hmm.
session with. I facilitated
Mm-hmm.
that male, and he said to me at the end, and I think he was only there because his wife wanted him to be there, right? Like,
I mean,
bless him for coming, right? But it was a couple session. He really was only there because his wife wanted him to be there,
mm-hmm.
and I remember him saying at the end, just in a very like surprised way, but also a very grateful way, thank you for teaching me that my breath is not my enemy, because he was 50 some years old and had asthma his whole life and had always thought that his breath was the enemy and a negative thing in his life, and not able to take a full and complete deep breath. And so that I think about a lot, because for me, again, it's not like I didn't cure his asthma. I'm not going to cure his asthma, right? But
Yes,
what I'm
yes,
going to do is just help shift something in his brain to think,
yes.
wait a second, maybe it's not my enemy, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I've, that's just one story. I have so many stories.
Wow.
I just worked with a client a week or so ago, and I didn't know this until she came and shared it with me, that it was the fifth anniversary of her husband's unexpected passing, and
Mm-hmm.
that was the day we were doing breath work.
Oh,
And we did some breath work, we did sound healing, and we did somatic movement and somatic coaching. So we did
mm-hmm.
and gosh, I get goosebumps of it because
Yeah, I
I
haven't heard the
know,
story yet, but
I know, I get goosebumps because I'm so honored that she felt safe enough to come into my healing space that day and
mm-hmm.
allowed me to hold space for her on a day that was just overridden with grief.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the great things about the work I do is that we're moving from a physical point of view, right? We want to shift the body, we want to move the body
Yeah.
to clear whatever's stuck somatically. But you also can have verbal stuckness, right?
Yes. Yes.
So to hold the space for her as she was doing what can only be explained as a primal scream of grief
Mm-hmm.
was very humbling for me. Humbling that she trusted me enough to
Mm-hmm.
come in and let me hold that grief for her and help her
Oh.
process it.
Mm-hmm.
And humbling that I'm at a point in my journey that I I can, I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like any client coming to me, and this isn't coming from an ego space, it's coming from a humble space of being grateful
Mm-hmm.
that I can serve.
Mm-hmm.
And
From
that
love.
day, from
With
love,
love.
that's
Yes.
how I
Yeah.
served her that
Yeah.
day. Yeah, and I've just been working with, we live in an area where there's a lot of veterans that live
Mm-hmm.
here. We're by a very large Air Force and Army base. And I work with a lot of veterans that do feel very alone, very
Yes.
alone. Um, and trust me to come in to do some somatic healing and some breath work. Again, I'm not going to solve all of their PTSD
Yes.
issues, but just to crack the door open a little
Mhm.
bit,
Mhm.
that they can have some hope. It's
Yes.
it's really important to me to work with that population as well.
Yeah.
So
Just to
women
see
that,
the light. Sometimes what you need to
yeah,
do just to see the light that it's possible to feel this way for at least a minute. So if you can feel it for a minute, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, it means that you can feel it. You can grow that emotional, I don't know, release, calmness. Yeah,
yeah,
peace, actually
exactly.
peace within.
Yeah, and just shifting from the whole point when we do somatic coaching or when we do a breathwork journey is we're shifting from sympathetic nervous system to parasympathetic nervous
Mm-hmm.
system. We're shifting from that activated state to that rest and relaxed
Mm-hmm.
state.
Mm-hmm.
And the energetic shift that can happen in clients is
Yeah,
beautiful to
it's
witness.
beautiful.
And I'm not the guru. They're their own guru, right?
Yes, yes,
Everything that they're doing is coming from within. And
yes.
my role is to hold the space, to guide them through it,
Mm-hmm.
to ask them to move their bodies, to
Yeah.
ask them to move their breath,
To guide them, basically
guide
be
them.
their guide to their own guru, because I think
Yes,
we sometimes we forget that we know the truth within ourselves, and we need a
yes.
person that will guide us to that inner wisdom that we have, inner guru that we have in us.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally. I just
Yeah.
worked with my coach last night. I have a somatic coach and
Hmm.
we had a great session,
Yeah.
So, that's another thing that I feel really strongly about. I think if you're facilitating, if you're coaching, if you're helping people heal, like I still have to continue to do my own healing journey.
Yes, yeah. I think it's a
Of course.
nonstop. There is always
Yes,
something comes up. You deal with them with human beings as well, right? So
exactly.
yes,
Exactly.
and have somebody that can guide you to, as I said, to your inner peace. It's important. I have my specialist too, so I
Yeah.
trust her, and she's my person, right? Yeah, and it's very important because we can. I think we can give even more to people when we have somebody else to share it with. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, like
yes,
as healers and facilitators, our cups have to be full
mhm, yes,
before we can help others,
yes, yeah.
before we can help others.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true. Yeah.
Mhm.
So what does it feeling grounded and empowered mean to you now after so many years of struggle and suffering?
Yeah, that is such a great question. And I love that because my October retreat that's coming up is called Rooted and Rising. And it's
Oh,
all about grounded and
grounded.
empowering. So it's a good theme for fall and for
Hmm.
all the time for me. So for me to be grounded and empowered is to know that I can drop into my healing and like I mentioned before, like turn that pain into purpose.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so, and I do a lot of things to keep myself and my nervous system grounded every day. Like,
Hmm.
we're on the computer right now. I have my feet on a grounding mat. I'll go walk barefoot out with my dogs later today to ground to the earth, right?
Yes.
But, keeping my nervous system regulated in the various ways that I do then allows me to continue on my own healing journey and to help others on their healing journey.
Hmm.
And for me, my soul's work at this point in my life is to empower women, to collaborate with women, to show them that they're not alone, to
Hmm.
show them that we can all get beyond the sister wound, right? There's no mean
Yes.
girls going on here, right? So, how do we have deeper insights into healing, deeper insights into collaboration and depth
Hmm.
and just working together and helping to empower women that maybe have never had anybody in their life that's
Hmm.
helped them with that before. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
just to take one bite of that pie or just to crack the
Hmm.
door open
Yes.
for my clients, that's what keeps me grounded and just empowered
Hmm.
and just having the energy to keep moving forward in what I do.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really fun.
that's beautiful. Oh,
Yeah.
that's awesome. Thank you. It's very
Yes.
beautiful.
Yes.
Thank you so much for being on today's podcast. And
Thank you.
before we wrap up, I want to ask you if you can share your legacy message, your encouragement message to the listeners, maybe even for those who feels that it's too late to change anything in their life, or something else that you would like to add.
Yeah, I just have to say that I am complete proof. My birthday is tomorrow, my 53rd birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
Yes, thank you. And I am just getting started, right?
Oh,
And I
wow.
think as
Mm-hmm.
women, it is like society wants to tell us that life is over at 30, 40, 50, whatever
Mm-hmm.
society is telling us, right? And
Yes.
and life is just getting started. And regardless of how you're feeling in this moment, like what
Mm-hmm.
is one thing that you could do today to just shift your vibration? You don't have to go from A to Z in one day. You can go
Mm-hmm.
from A, you could go from like capital A to little a. You don't even have to make it to B
Mm-hmm.
today, right? Just one step, one bite of the pie, one crack of the door of how you can continue on your healing journey, consider what your soul is asking you to do, not comparing yourself to anybody
Yeah.
else's
Mm-hmm.
timeline. This is my timeline. This is not anybody else's timeline. And just really knowing that, especially for women, surrounding themselves with other women that can
Mm-hmm.
witness them, that
Yeah.
can witness and collaborate and
Mm-hmm.
come from a space of love, just is the most powerful thing on the planet. So it really,
Oh,
it doesn't even matter about the breath work or the somatic heal.
yes.
It's just like whatever you want to do to heal, please go do it, and do
Oh,
it with other women, right? And do it
yes,
together
absolutely
and
agree.
witness each other. So yeah,
Yeah. Thank you
thank
so
you.
much, Karen. Thank you so much. It was so powerful, beautiful, and very, very inspiring. And you can find more information and connect with Karen by following the links below this episode. And if you feel that life gets overwhelmed with pressure, check out my stress free aid kit below this episode as well. And remember, no matter how tough things get, you are not alone.